One second.
Yeah,
Show self view. There you go. Boom. I'm in there.
Okay.
All right. We're in the house.
yeah, you're here. Um, oh man, I'm glad that we found time to chat. I hope that September is not as crazy as August was.
August was all over the place because I was constantly trying to get away because I had to go London for something, right?
Yeah.
But we just put a record out. Because we just put a record out, I'm moving and shaking around more than I'm usually around, but I'm moving and shaking more. And I started to pick up DJ gigs. So I started getting all these random gigs, but I had to go London, but I was getting these gigs and I had like family stuff to deal with. It was just a lot.
Yeah.
But it's literally all just calmed down now. So
Is that album that just came out, the Aki album that's on the
yes,
Design label? I was
yeah.
just listening to that. Man, that's sick. It sounds so good.
All right, thank you, thank you. I mean, it wasn't, yeah. So I was out and about promoting that and dropping it off at like stores and like stuff, and just being more sort of like, um, I'm kind of a social guy. I get out a lot, but I don't get out as much as I kind of used to. But like because of the album, I'm constantly out and networking. People are like, yeah, you DJ, right? I remember you DJ'd. I've got a thing going on over here. I've got a thing going. Do you want to come from a DJ? I was like, yeah, sure. So I started picking up these gigs. But at the same time, I was trying to get to London. I couldn't get to London. It was a whole thing. So August was just mad in general. But
Is it like that all the time when you release an album? Do you take like a big chunk of time to go promote it around?
yes, what happens? You know what? It's like yeah, you take a bunch of time to promote it, but with me, with I can't speak for other labels, but with us, it's more of an organic thing because because I collect records. I'm part of the vinyl community, you might say.
Yeah.
So what I do is that I go to record stores. I've got the record, and I just sell the records at wholesale to record stores. And then I'll pull up at like events. I'll go and see DJs and hand them the record. It's very sort of like organic and communal, you know.
Yeah.
But I used to DJ quite a bit, and then I took my foot off the pedal. It not weren't necessarily that. I just wasn't at the clubs, at the venues every night like how I used to be. Because I'm pushing this record, I'm at the clubs, I'm at the venues every night like I used to be. So when I start to like be around DJs, I have to hang out with DJs more, and I just start to kind of get like gigs. So yeah, so it is like that in general. When you release a record, it's like a month to 6 weeks of shaking hands and kissing babies and just being around, you know. New
Yeah.
York's very like face to face city. People just wanna you just gotta you just got to be in the mix.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard if you don't want to see faces in New York, it's real hard to avoid them. I feel like it's so tightly
100%.
packed.
Hundred.
Are you mostly promoting it in New York? Or are you also like getting outside of it? Or like when you go to London, do you have people that you're trying to?
Yeah, in London, what it is, I've got a distribution deal, right? So I've got well, usually I have a distribution deal that distributes my records in London and in Europe, right? Usually
Yeah.
for so that gets it out to London and Europe, and I have a distribution deal with like this union for a Japan release. For this particular record, we have distribution in like Germany and Western Europe. Not so much in London, which is one of the reasons I wanted to go to London. I never got distro for London. That's a whole other story. But
Is
I
that
want to go to London and get around. Yeah.
is that a Brexit issue? Like, is distribution messed up because the UK is not like the rest of Europe anymore?
Um, I don't know if it's directly related to Brexit. It may be indirectly related to Brexit, just because the distribution company that I deal with, and they're a great company, they were just like going through some things right now. Can't really take you on. We really want to do it, but A to Z in internal stuff. So it might be related to Brexit, maybe not. but I never got my distro to London. But a German company picked it up, so now I've got like Germany, France, Italy, Spain. But that company, I'm still dealing with them. But for this record, I'm not. They usually distribute me in London very very well, but they never really picked it up. So I've got to do my own thing,
So
which is how it is. The life of an entrepreneur, independent record labels. You've always got to pivot, you know.
yeah, for sure. Yeah, I feel like running a label it's so much work to make a label a full-time gig.
Hmm.
Um,
Definitely.
was it always based in New York? Were you
It was always based in New York City.
yeah.
The label was pretty much started by accident.
Okay.
Yeah, because I had no intention of starting a record label. What happened with this label was that I was around 2018. I was around 2018. I was obsessed with buying African records. And I buy a lot of these, not a lot, but there was this guy on eBay. His name was something Hi-Fi, based out of Brooklyn. I always remember because he actually lived, when I checked the map, he lived pretty near to where I actually lived then. I used to live in Bushwick in Brooklyn. Now I'm in the city. But he lived a few blocks from me. I never knew him. But he'd post these amazing African records, like once a month. Very rare records, very records that were hunted down by vinyl heads like me. So I would bid on these records, right? A lot of them were like too overpriced, couldn't afford them. But anyway, I got this record by this group called Super Wings.
Super Wings.
And
Yeah, I saw
yeah,
that in your catalog.
exactly. Super Wings. I really liked it. I really dug it. I listened to it and I put it aside. And a couple of weeks later, I listened to it again and I was like, this record's a really cool record. It's an amazing record. And at the time, I was on the periphery of the industry somewhat. It's like I was a DJ and I curated music for like restaurants and like hotels and like stuff. And my idea was to take this record to a reissue label and get a label to put it out. And then I do the liner notes. I just wanted to kind of get in because I had this idea. I wanted to do like compilations. So I was like, I wanted to build relationships with these labels, get this record to them and build favor and then work a relationship so I can put out comps on the label, that kind of stuff. So I wanted to track down the guy who was behind the record Super Wings, this guy called Manfred Best. So I went to like Facebook, like you do, right? Went to Facebook, looked him up, sent him emails, and he never got back to me. And after the third or fourth email, he got back to me and he was saying, "You want to put this record out?" And I was like, "Yeah, but it's an old record." He had he was like a farmer slash preacher now. This record's 50 years old.
That's amazing.
He's moved on. He's got his grandkids. He's like, "You want to put the record out again, but it's already been out." I was like, "Yeah, but Mr. Best, like there's an underground community of vinyl enthusiasts that love this record, and I think it could do well." And he was like, "All right, cool." And he goes, "So you want to put it out?" I was like, "No, I'm going to bring it to a label and put it out." And he was like, "I don't understand." He goes, um, "You're telling me you're a fan of the record, but you want to give it to like somebody else." And I was like, "Yeah, but the industry." He said, "Look, if you want to put the record out, put the record out. If you're not going to put it out, nobody's putting it out." And he just told me basically like that. And I was like, "Okay, I guess I've got to put the record out." And I figured out a way to work out the business and we put the record out. And that was the start of Good Fine Records. He forced me to basically start a label.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Mm,
That's cool that it was so tied to vinyl specifically the whole time.
yeah. Yes,
Are
always wanted to, always try to sometimes it's not cost effective and I have some releases that aren't on vinyl and it's like stone in my shoe. But I always like to put some kind of a physical release out with it. It could be a tape, cassette, or something. I always want to put something tangible with like each release, but sometimes that just doesn't work.
No, that's super real. I've got a trio I play with, and we've got a thing that we were putting out soon, and we've
Right,
been sitting on it forever because we couldn't figure out what the physical thing was going to be that people were going to
right.
get with it. And you're like,
Okay.
it's just not, it doesn't hit the same if you're like, it's on Bandcamp and Spotify, like,
It just doesn't hit the same. But you got to think of the math of it all, right? Like, what
yeah.
do you play?
What do I play?
Yeah.
It's so funny. My background was in classical music originally. I was trained as a bassoonist and composer, music theorist, but
Soon.
I do like electroacoustic noisy stuff now. Um,
Mm,
like in Pittsburgh, this is a tangent. You can tell me if it's not interesting, but I Pittsburgh has this super interesting clash of music histories for me that I
mm,
like to sit in the middle of,
right.
where on the one hand, it's got this big old jazz history because
Yes.
during the Great Migration, it's on the way to New York and Chicago if you're coming up from the South.
Art Blakey's from Pittsburgh, no?
Art Blakey, Mary Lou Williams, Errol
Williams.
Garner, uh,
Mm,
it just like a huge, like a whole bunch of people are
yeah,
from around here. So
Richard.
it's got this amazing improvised music tradition. And then at the same time, because of all this industrial labor organizing, Rust Belt stuff, it's got this big punk ethos also.
Mm,
Like all this industrial music and punk stuff from the 70s. And
yeah.
now they like sort of touch. It's not like New York where it's a big enough city that you could avoid some of the people whose music you don't want to hear.
Mm,
Like the punk stuff and the kind of like the black diasporic music are touching in a really
mm,
interesting way. Uh,
interesting.
and I love, yeah, and because it's a depressed city, there's a lot of empty space. So like people are sharing music spaces all over the place that are all these sort of empty industrials. It's I don't know, it's beautiful. I love Pittsburgh. We have cool record shops too. You should
Yeah.
come give records Pittsburgh.
I can imagine. I've never been, but I always see Pittsburgh as like a just like a blue collar, no nonsense, sort of the earth, sort of a place. That's how I think about it and I envision it, like Pittsburgh, you know?
I think Pittsburgh wants everyone to think of it that way, and I want to
No.
think of it that way too. It's a weird contrast between like the industry that's moved in since the steel industry collapsed is like
Mm.
medicine and tech, which
Oh,
is
Tech's over there too.
right. Well, yes. Well, they're trying to be it here, but like they're trying to get a foothold, but the population has this like mythical mid 20th century Pittsburgh in its head, where we're like, we are this. It imagines itself as this blue collar. It's super interesting. So there's like Pittsburgh is resistant to certain kinds of change, maybe like for good, but
Mm.
like the city council is like, our population hasn't grown in 40 years. We really need to bring in young meds and eds to do, you know what I mean? That's
Yeah.
interesting.
It's
Um,
interesting. It's interesting. You come with a classical background, play the bassoon, and there's this clash of. It's not even a clash of cultures. I just see it as something. It's almost like you're saying you're doing a form of music that could only come out of Pittsburgh due to the cultural, like history or dynamic of that city.
I think in some way, I mean, that's a beautiful way to put it. I think that in some way, everybody is can only be doing music that's a result of wherever they are physically. Like the place matters so much. It
Mm,
just sometimes we choose to focus on the things that are more, like the qualities of music that are shared across a bigger geography. You know what I mean? Like, and classical music is such a bad culprit of that, where it's like
mhm.
trying to be something that's from Europe in the 19th century. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But it's hard not to make Pittsburgh flavored music in Pittsburgh. It's a anyway, that's a total tangent, but I do
Interesting
love
stuff. Music.
Pittsburgh. There's cool music in Pittsburgh.
Hmm.
Um, are all of your releases re-releases?
No, we started off doing reissues. That's how we started off doing reissues. Did the Super Wings. We did this album by this Japanese artist, like psychedelic artist called Hoodoo Fushimi. That's a whole other story too. But he put out a hip hop record in the 90s. We put that out. That was our second release. And then we started working with other artists. We worked with this artist called Primary PA. They were pretty early to it. We haven't released any of their stuff on vinyl. That bugs me, but that's coming soon. But they're more like house techno driven. But that's like contemporary artists. We've worked a lot with this artist called Rafael de Toledo, and he's an experimental, it's like experimental psychedelic alternative rap
So
from Brazil, right? And he's an artist that we work with too. And what else we done? And then we put out our own music under Hi-Fi Recluse, and that was more geared towards we started getting sync deals, like advertising deals, like
mhm.
um, who was it again? Converse and what was the sync deals? Feeler, yeah, we got Feeler,
That's nice.
and yeah, Feeler and like Steve Madden, and we started getting sync deals. So we never made music to get sync deals, definitely not. We made music to scratch this electronica itch that we had. So we started putting out music as a production company under Hi-Fi Recluse, and and we produced that Aki album too.
Yeah.
Um, so we put out um, contemporary music, and we work with contemporary artists, but we also have one eye on any artifacts that we can reissue too. You know, so
That's cool. Is there a through line through all of your releases? Like you talked about the electronica itch, and when I look at them, it seems like across the albums, even the like the reissues and the new stuff, it seems like it feels like the city is like just in whether that's Tokyo or London or New York is like
yeah,
such a central thing across a bunch of them. Is that the case?
yeah. I don't think there's I think the thread would be we always approach things. We tend to approach things from an international point of view. Like none of our music that we've released, except for our music, has come out of the US.
Mm-hmm.
And even I'm from London, and my partner's from Japan. You know, so it's not something that's thought about. In fact, I never really noticed it until a record store pointed it out to me. I was this record store called Brooklyn Records, Brooklyn Record Exchange, and they've since moved. And I gave him a cassette. We did a remix. We remixed um an album by an artist called AK Sugar, and we sampled all these Asian loops and breaks and like
I
samples.
love that. That's
We were
cool.
like distributed around stores, and like we like talking to this store, and like the guy's like, man, he said, I don't even have to listen to it. I'm gonna take it. You always do this eclectic international stuff. That's what I love about you. And I was like, yeah, you're right. We always do eclectic international stuff. I think I'm gonna put that on like our site. But yeah, there's really no common thread. It's just if the music's good, you know. I haven't got around to putting a jazz record out yet. That's something that we're slowly working on. There's a lot of stuff. There's a lot of I'm into so many different forms of music. I barely scratched the surface of records, artists, or types of records that I would love to
Mm.
put out. You know.
It's funny. You say you haven't put out a jazz thing yet, but I see the like traces of it in the like the Black Rad album that I wrote to you about.
Yeah,
Initially, I see that Jackie McLean cover going on. That's sick. That's so cool.
yeah. When we put the Black Radical out, if there's a backstory to putting that record out, but at the time, I really wanted my whole thing was I want to reissue a jazz record. There was a particular jazz record I wanted to put out.
Huh.
I I don't think I want to say the artist, but there was an artist I wanted to put a jazz record, but we just couldn't figure it out. Right? It's like an obscure jazz record, it's avant-garde spiritual jazz record.
Great.
Offline, I might say, online, I don't want to say. But the deal that fell through. And then around the same time, I was going back and forth with Felix, Black Radical,
Yeah.
about putting out a record. So I was like, the Felix record scratched a lot of itches because I wanted to put out a jazz record. I wanted to put out something from the UK for obvious reasons. And I wanted to put a hip hop record out. So I was like, he scratched the UK itch. He's got a hip hop itch, and I'm gonna put a jazz cover just to pacify me for this deal that fell through for this jazz record that I really wanted to put out. So yeah, that was a good look. I've actually got it here because I wanted to bring it up. I'm very proud of this cover, which was that's the original, and
That's so cool. Yeah, I love that. It's such a like it jumped like if you know like that jumps out so much. Like it couldn't be
exactly
any other like reference.
right. And so shout out to my wife and partner who did the art direction on that
Yes.
cover. I had nothing to do with the I couldn't even draw. My drawings are basically stick men, and that's pretty much it. That I can do if you want to see a stick man, I'm the best for that. Telling you.
Is your wife also a music producer?
Yeah, she's a music producer, vocalist, and she's a pianist. She's a flutist. She is Aki on that record.
Oh,
That's
okay.
actually her. Yeah.
Okay, I got you.
So we produce under Hi-Fi Recluse, and
I
she's
see.
Aki on the album, and she was also AK Sugar in a. I don't want to say a previous life because she might still put out some records under that still, but AK Sugar was more sort of an alter ego, which was like a rapper slash singer, like a MIA almost like vibe, you know.
Cool. That's so interesting for me to hear because like it's changing how I see your catalog. I see you sprinkled or the two of you sprinkled throughout it now that you've said those things. I would have
Yeah,
no idea otherwise for sure.
yeah, yeah. So it's a two-person team, but I'm the person that's more upfront. I don't mind being in front of camera. I don't mind. I'm just more. But
Yeah, that's
she's half of it, 100%.
that's great to have.
Yeah,
It's good to know what your role is.
yeah, exactly.
What are you willing to share some of the backstory of the album with Felix?
Yeah,
How
sure.
that happened? I
Yeah,
would dying to know.
yeah. Of course. Well, this story. Me and Felix go way, 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 way back. Long time. I've known Felix a long time. Now, how I know Felix is like this. I have this friend called Scotty. He's my oldest friend. Born in the same hospital, a week apart. Grew up. We were close friends. Still are close friends, right?
Yeah.
Um, Scotty, Scott went to the Caribbean. In our teens, Scott went to the Caribbean for like a few years when he came back. When he came back, he happened to move onto my street, right? So I go and visit Scotty. Now, when I went to visit Scotty, Scotty was playing Rakeem's first album, no, his second album. I remember it like yesterday. Scotty was playing Microphone Fiend, right? This is gonna be like showing my age now. This is like 1991,
Okay.
right? He's playing Microphone Fiend. And I was like, what is this? Now here's the thing. I was into hip hop in the early days. Like, as a little kid, I used to break dance and body pop, early hip hop, prior to even Run DMC. Like when
Yeah.
you had like filmed like Beat Street and Breaking and like Crush Groove,
Yeah.
early into the rap thing, hip hop, break dance, and had little crew. And Run DMC came out and it changed the game and all that kind of stuff, right? And then, but as the years went on, I'm bringing it full circle. I drifted away from like hip hop. I got more into soul, R&B, and into dancehall reggae. My like, family's Jamaican. I grew up in a Jamaican hood, so reggae was like prevalent. So I was more into that. So the point is, when Scotty was playing Microphone Fiend, I realized how much hip hop had like progressed in the 4 years that I was really listening to it, 4 or 5 years. I was like, what is this? He goes, this is Rakim Allah. I was like, who? Rakim? This is amazing. He goes, this is what it is. I was like, what? And then he's like, I'm part of this crew. I was like, really? And he goes, yeah, I'm part of this like hip hop crew. Hip hop. You break dance? He goes, no, we like throw parties. We like put on events and we press our own records. I was like, you put music out? He goes, yeah. Some music out. He goes, you have to introduce me to these guys. He goes, yeah, sure. So he introduced me to that whole crew. Like DJ Seal was a well-known DJ, and he was Felix's DJ. This MC called BC, who made the track called Rock the Boat under like bass singer classic track. He is my like best friend to this day, and Felix. And I was just in awe. Like I never, because you got to think this is like the early 90s, and they were throwing events, these hip hop events. They get MCs from like South London, from East London. It was a small community at the time, small-ish, but like early Moni Love, she was part of the crew. They were all there, and they throw these events, and I was just blown away. It was really interesting. And then I'd follow Felix when he'd go and get his like records press too. Go to Camden Town and get the records press. So I had the inside look into this whole business, and it was a self-sustained business, and it's fascinated me then. But in retrospect, now looking back at it, it's even more because nobody was doing this, and he was signed to like Cold Cut, and then he got a deal with like Island Records.
Mm-hmm.
He was signed to Mango, which that was under Island. I'm giving you kind of a story, but I'm giving you the backstory of
I
me.
love the backstory. It's
because me and Flex go way back.
Cool.
He was signed to Mango, and that was almost like Felix's. We call him Felix. We call him Flex. Flex, yeah. Felix's history is intertwined with like mine, but I only noticed it in retrospect when I was putting out the album, because he opened my eyes to a lot of things. He got signed to Mango, so that was my insight into. I managed to peek behind the curtain, and I'd go into like Island Studios. Like we actually made a record. We actually made a posse cut. I mean, you're a little bit young, but you might remember back in the 90s, there was this whole thing about posse cuts. Like, here we go, yo, to the scenario, that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah.
And we made a posse cut. I don't even rap, but I rapped on this record, but I never got released because the gentleman I mentioned, BC, sampled the Beatles, and that wasn't getting cleared.
Uh-huh.
So I never got cleared. But anyway, he got signed to Mango, and I got to be around industry parties and like stuff and that kind of stuff. But the point is, Felix became a close friend of mine, and me and Felix's relationship was at least once a month, but around every 2 weeks, I go to Felix's place. He had an apartment in Tottenham, where we're like from. And we just sit and talk about music, talk about life, philosophy, politics. That was me and Felix's thing. We just sit and we just reason and talk and talk and talk. Then at some point, I moved to New York City. He moved to Spain. Felix has been in Spain for like 25 years, maybe longer.
Still?
He's still in Spain. Yeah, he's still in Spain. He does like real estate.
Amazing. Okay.
Yeah, amazing. He moved back. I don't know who moved first. Either I moved to New York first. He moved to like Spain first. I can't remember. Both of us went that way. So anyway, how the album it came about. So we put the Super Wings out. We put the Hoodoo record out. We started working with Rafa, and I started to reminisce about Bass Incorporated, which was that crew I told you about.
Yeah.
And I was brainstorming with like my like wife, and I was like, I want to do something around Bass Inc. But at the time, I was thinking I had this grandiose kind of idea. We're going to do like we're going to have some kind of an exhibition with some merch. Going to do a little documentary about them. That kind of stuff. All right, cool. So I reached out to Felix. He's like, "You want to do like an exhibition document?" Yeah, great. I'll send you some like stuff. He started sending me stuff. But what happened was, I like had the artifacts, posters, visuals, all the stuff from back in the day, but I never had any footage. There were some guys meant to have footage of Bass Inc. back in the day who filmed their shows, but we couldn't track them down. Became a whole thing. So he sent me as part of the exhibition for this exhibition that I was planning on doing. He sent me these basic live cuts, recordings of basic performing live, right? So in my mind, I'm thinking we could reissue this, but it just sounded so raw. It would have need to get that cleaned up like big
Yeah, you
time.
need to master it and shit.
Yeah, I had to master. I think I've got to master it. It's doable, but it just would take a lot of work, and it's a live recording. I want to put it on a tape, a cassette tape. I was going back and forth. So I'm thinking out loud, and I'm on the phone to Felix, I think, and I'm talking to Felix about this. And he's like, yeah, I've got this other project that I did. It was the last project I did before I left the industry because I was disillusioned with the industry. I was like, really? Send me that. He goes, yeah, I see it. So like, send me it. And I listened to it. And the first track I listened to was Black Pop. And
That's
he
so good.
sampled, and I knew I was going to put it out. I just knew before I listened to it, I said, I just had to. And I listened to it, and I was like, this is great. Because he samples a track called Secret Rendezvous. And like, as a side note, I've written this book. I haven't put it out yet, but I say written this book. It's more of a photo journal of there was this scene. It's called the Red Roof scene in the UK. It lasted from like the late 70s through the mid 90s, maybe. And it was a certain type of soul music at a certain tempo that that the black community in the UK would party and throw events to. It's like, I want to say it's slow soul, but it's called like two-step here, but it's
Mhm.
music of a certain tempo. And there's certain records of this genre that we created that are iconic records. And he sampled a track called Secret Rendezvous, which is an iconic record in the Blackwood Secret. I was like, okay, this is tapping into my like 18-year-old me. And then I heard the other three tracks. I love the fact that it was an EP because DJs can play it and just bang it out. And we struck up a deal and put it out. And then he said he never had like any like artwork for it. So I was like, okay, we're gonna get creative. And as I mentioned, I can scratch this jazz itch and do this Jackie McLean Blue Note homage,
Yeah.
you know. So that's how that record came about.
Wow. That's crazy. I have so many follow-up questions,
Yeah, it's great.
but I'm thinking first about collecting my organizing my thoughts. You mentioned I'm curious, what format did Felix send you the recording when did he like mail you a cassette or did he have it digitized already? Well, like what?
It was he sent me the WAV files, MP3s and WAV files. So
Oh,
it was
interesting.
digitized. He sent it as a digitized format. Yeah.
Oh, funky. That means that like he did some sort of conversion at some point, right? It was originally, it looks like it was like just a cassette that he put out originally.
Yes, he said he released it on like cassette originally. I don't know how and when he digitized it, but that's a good point. I hadn't even thought of that. He seemed somewhat prepared for it. It wasn't like a month process where like he said, I've got to go and digitize it. I've got to go downtown to wherever town is in Spain. He was just like, okay, I'll send it to you format. That was it. So I guess yeah, it's a good point. It was digitized and he sent it to me pretty quick.
Nice. Yeah, I'm not gonna dig around in that toy box, but I'm super curious if yeah, I mean, it's there's something different about digital and like
Yeah,
I'd be curious to know if there are differences between the original release and like, did he normalize it? Did he do any like is there what happened to it between, what I mean?
yeah, that's it. Yeah, that is a rabbit hole that we could go down.
What
Yeah,
but a rabbit hole I would rather go down actually. It's also I'm super excited for the music that I'm going to go listen to now that you're telling me about Secret Rendezvous and stuff. I got to
Secret Rendezvous.
I'm excited for how much listening
Renee
this
and
record.
Angela. It's by a group called Renee and Angela.
Renee and Angela.
Yeah.
Well, so what does it mean for you releasing the album in the US, given that it's really speaking to your London
Yeah.
scene? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting. It sparks a dialogue. The thing about me, the reason why that's an interesting question is that what I do is, I guess it's more it's I have a more of a unique process, in like the sense that usually I think with reissue labels or labels in general, you press the record, you send it to distribution, and they distribute it, and that's it. Me, I do 50% of my records are through distro, but half of them is me going store to like store. Because I live in New York, there's so many record stores, and I'm not gonna say I know everybody, but I know a lot of the players at the store because I'm always buying records, right? So it sparks a dialogue. Because so it'll be like, so when I drop that record off, they know that I'm from London. So it's almost like every time I drop the records off at the stores, it's almost like I've got to give a presentation about this record, because they'll be like, "It's a UK rapper. You're from the UK. I don't know this guy. Who's this Black Radical?" I'm like, "Yeah, he's a pioneer of UK rap. He's one of the originators, conscious rap. Think Public Enemy, but from the UK." Now, I've known this guy. It's going to be a whole spiel. So I was doing a public service in the sense that I talk about the record, and then they put the record on. Because now I'm talking about it so much, they put the record on. And then people in the store would be asking about the record. So the point is, in the US, but I'm talking about just my close interactions. I
Yeah.
can't speak for the rest of the US. I've got some feedback on it, but mainly from Japan and from the UK. I shopped a lot of records to the UK for obvious reasons, right?
Yeah.
But 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 the feedback on it was, because they Google him too. They'd be like, "Okay, this guy's like a pioneer, and this is his last record." I was like, "Yeah, this was the last record that, not his last record, but the last record he put out on his run." And and they were just fascinated by it, because in New York anyway, they associate UK rap with grime, right? Grime and the modern stuff. They don't. It's unfathomable that we were rapping back in the Stone Ages.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So it like sparked interesting conversation amongst record store owners, and it did pretty well in the stores too,
Yeah.
because it's a unique release, and also that cover pops too. So
Yeah, I mean, when I feel like when you step back and look at like whatever was going on socially, politically in the UK and in the places where American hip hop was growing around that time, it makes so much sense that there was that feedback between them.
yeah, because at the time, and Public Enemy always say this. When you ask Public Enemy about their fan bases,
Yeah.
they're always like UK,
Yeah.
London, like that. Public Enemy, It Takes a Nation. That concert, I don't want to say that I was at that concert. I might have been. They did 3 nights at the Hammersmith Odeon. I was like 15,
Yeah.
and I went to one of them. And they recorded, but live recordings on an album is taken from, like, so they've always had a base in London. And we were obsessed with Public Enemy, and Black Radical, early Black Radical, is an offspring of that obsession with that group.
Yeah. Um, I would love to pull on that Public Enemy thread a bit. And because when I've listened to stuff by Black Radical and when I listen to Public Enemy, the sampling style feels really different to me, even though subject matter is overlapping. And I'm wondering how much, you mentioned like 90, 91 when you guys are doing stuff like sampling laws are starting to change, you know, like you can't make Fear of a Black Planet anymore after, you know what I mean? And I was curious, like, uh, if you could point to specifically, like in the music, what elements of like Black Radicals music or your music you see coming from Public Enemy? Is it lyrics? Is it
It's, it's
sampling style? Like, are you setting up like the Bomb Squad and doing that Hank Shockley thing?
yeah. I mean, in terms of production, I can't really speak too much on that because I wasn't a pro producer. I was around, and but I wasn't on the production ends of things really. Even in terms of Felix's music at the time, Felix was putting out music, and I was a friend of Felix's, and I'd go to Felix's place and we see each other at jams and at events and stuff. But I wasn't part of that inner production circle. I had some other stuff I was doing too, and I was also throwing my own parties and like stuff. But from a fan point of view, lyrically, definitely, Public Enemy is in Felix's Black Radicals DNA.
Yeah.
But production wise, there's a difference, but the Public Enemy's production is different to anybody's production. The Bomb Squad, as you mentioned, it's a period in time where you couldn't get away with that. That's why it's almost like such important archival records, like the Bomb Squad, Shockley and Vietnam Sadler and these guys went in and created these masterpieces with this tapestry of like sound that wasn't duplicated by anybody.
Yeah.
Like there's not even any other producers, celebrated hip hop producers of that time or since that I can think of that could be like they were doing what the Bomb Squad did. Because, you know, it's such a unique moment in time, such a unique setup. And it's like, you know, it's like lightning in a bottle. But
yeah, sorry.
But lyrically, yeah, like Black Radicals. I'm sure I don't want to speak for like Flex, but he would say I was influenced by Public Enemy because everyone was.
Right. No, of course. Man, I could see, I wonder if you feel a relationship between that sort of like overload style of sampling in Public Enemy and your interest in like compilation stuff that you were talking about later when you talk about shopping around like an album of a bunch of loops from Asian music.
Right.
Do you feel, am I drawing a fake connection that's not actually there?
No, I see what you're saying. Yes, it's just there's a connection with hip hop like as a whole, right?
Okay.
Yeah, PE, The Alchemist, Madlib. I think in terms of like what we do in terms of sampling and looping, it would be it's more. I would say it's more influenced by your Madlibs and your Alchemists.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like those kind of production values as opposed to the Bomb Squad, but they were all influenced by the Bomb Squad. I mean, so it's like that's the grandparent of it all. But the Bomb Squad, it was so intricate and so multi-layered and so scientific in the way that they went about things.
Yeah.
With that project, the AK Sugar project, it was more like broad strokes, like let's find a loop. let's find a loop that we can work with. And I think it got, I don't want to say bomb squaddy, but we use a lot of like vocal punctuations. So we take vocals from abstract like kung fu or like Japanese movies from the 60s, the 50s, and just punctuate those vocals in there to give it kind of a, I don't want to say a punk rock ethos, but give it an edge.
Yeah.
You know, which is related to Public Enemy too. It's like Public Enemy's like grandfather of all of that stuff.
Yeah, that's sick. It's so funny you talking about sampling from kung fu movies and stuff makes me think of do you listen? I was just listening to this Preservation album, uh, Eastern Medicine, Western Illness.
What is that?
Do you know Preservation? He's this guy. He went like and lived in Hong Kong for a bunch of years, and he made this album that was like all sampled from his like he got from a local record shop in Hong Kong.
No, I feel like I heard about this guy. Preservation.
Preservation, yeah. I mean I think I think I heard about him because I was listening to somebody interview Rob Sonic.
Yeah.
I don't know, but it made me think of that.
I think I heard about this guy. I think I saw something on YouTube where this someone was talking about like one of the greatest hip hop tracks ever made, and he was talking about this guy. If I saw the guy's track list, I might find that record. But I think it was him. He was saying this guy made a record and he sampled something. Such a beautiful song. He was just going on and on about this dude. I think it's the same guy.
That could be. I think he's been
Presentations.
around for a little bit.
Yeah.
Right on. Um, I before I forget to ask,
Mm.
um, so I part of the reason I came across Black Radical was because we were working with Ngozi Onwurah, this director who made Welcome to the Terror Dome,
Yes.
and I wanted to ask if you've seen that movie or if it's like if it was around or if people knew about. I'm totally curious. I don't know anything about the reception. Like I don't know.
It's so long ago, right?
It
When did the movie come out?
was 95.
Yes, this is. I may have seen it. I can't even remember.
Uh-huh.
I know of the movie. I know back in the day, I was talking about that movie. Um, and Felix has brought it up in conversation multiple times. I feel like, and this is not a diss. It's just it's so long ago. I
Yeah.
feel like I could well have seen it, but I don't remember. It's like in the 90s and that, you know.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
But yeah, but it is a movie that has like a cult following, and it's a movie of note.
Yeah, I mean, well, so the reason I ask about it partly is like I thought it was so interesting that that movie sort of disappeared for a while and
Mm.
then resurfaced and like started. I think now it's on the Criterion Collection, but like
That's amazing.
that's
On
pretty recent.
Criterion,
Yeah,
that's amazing.
yeah, you can go see Felix Joseph on the Criterion channel.
That is amazing. That is amazing. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
like it took so long for that to happen, and it resurfaced and started getting rescreenings around the same time that you re-released that you
Wow.
reissued the album.
It's actually, I think it's like I was saying this like yesterday. I was thinking, I think it's been 5 years since that album came out.
Yeah.
It's like a 5 year anniversary conversation. And me being a marketing guy, I'd be like, I have to pitch this interview. I have to get a couple clips and pitch it as 5 year anniversary interview with Jay Rauch.
Yeah, we'll put this back at the beginning. I'll be like, I'm here with Clive Williams celebrating the 5 year anniversary of the
Come
release
on.
of Black Radical's last will and testament.
See, great minds think alike. That's what I miss with you, Jay.
No, that's sick. Yeah, I'm it's so interesting to me that the London this and Welcome to the Terror Dome. If I mean it's freaking brutal as a movie, like watching it, but it is like it's funny how much like the other projects we've been talking about, it speaks to both the US and the London audience, you know,
Yeah.
where like it's set in, I think it's one night in the terror dome, in the sort of like Afrofuturist but dystopian
Yeah.
terror dome. And the director said that it was like just recounting 7 or 8 or 9 acts of violence that were real, but she sort of fictionalized them that
And
happened.
did you do a talk like at the university? Was it a talk you gave or she gave?
So she came to the university and we did a screening of the film, and she gave a little talk, and then we did a little interview with her about that project on the DL. I'll cut it out of the video or something. But we're trying to start a Black women's film archive at Pitt. We have a handful of scholars. We have really great archival resources, and we're basically like one of the professors who I work with closely has been kind of courting a handful of directors to be sort of a starting collection, and this director is, I guess you'd call her, part of the cult following for Terror Dome. So she,
yeah,
but one, my I, of course, I have mixed feelings, right? Like, institutionalizing stuff in an archive is different than an archive, like than the record store as an archive. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
it feels a little different. So which is partly why we're talking right now. I'm interested in how that movie, which is basically like one long music video, like hit for people, or better understanding the musical culture that surrounded the making of it. Especially like if you go back and watch it, like
I need to go back and watch it.
Felix he's narrating it. He's like on screen. He's dropping verses. He's all, his fingerprints are all over it. And the director said that she didn't tell him what, like, he wrote the music basically.
Yeah.
Which is,
I get it. I actually made a feature film once. Cool. I made like a 90-minute feature, wrote, produced, co-produced, and directed it about 10 years ago. It's called Mr. Obscure, right?
Mr. Obscure.
Yeah, it's called Mr. Obscure. It got to a couple like New Yorky kind of underground festivals, and then I put it up on Vimeo, and it did okay on Vimeo, and then I pulled it. And I'm gonna eventually, my idea is to re-release it with the score and the soundtrack as like a double album. So I'm reissuing a record, but I'm reissuing a film like at the same time.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah, so I understand film. I've always been into film.
That's
so
cool.
I get what you're saying about archiving, but Black female directors, there's some good movies in there.
Yeah, well, I mean, there is, yeah, there's so much, especially, I mean, it does not just tied to music, but music feels like such a big part of many of them. I'm thinking of people like Julie Dash or
Daughters of the Dust.
Yeah.
That's
Julie Dash. Yeah.
Yeah. Daughters of the Dust.
Yeah, or like Zainabu Irene Davis. Like, I don't know, there are a million directors out there who did crazy stuff. But Ngozi did like the first, I think that was Terror Dome was like the first feature film that got a major theatrical release in the UK that was by a Black woman.
Wow. That I never knew.
Which is crazy.
They're absolutely crazy.
It's crazy that there was 95 when that happened, that like it took that long, but also somehow it's not surprising either.
That whole movement, that's why I'm always paying homage to Bass Inc. and Black Radical, who was such an influence on me, and I never really recognized it at the time. This is how I recognized it, right? I was on the phone to Felix. Me and Felix have these epic conversations for like 2 hours. If you know Felix, you know you're going to get into the depths of society and the world and stuff. Epic conversations. And we were talking about back in the day. And I was like, yeah, I remember what you guys did. Like, when I met you guys, you were pressing music and you were throwing events. And I said, that was the influence of what I'm doing now, right? But I said it in a way like, it's a nice thing to say. There's an element of truth to it. But it's a nice thing to say to my friends, right? But when I said it, it dawned on me, it's actually true. He planted the seeds. And I started to get emotional. It made Felix, I'm sure it was mad awkward on the phone. I was just like, Yeah. And like I kept saying the same thing over and over again. I was like, I went to the point, I was like, it's just me. I was like, yeah, Felix. And you know, and what you did back in the day, it just influenced me for what I'm doing now. And I was like, yeah. It was a lot of sniffing, and yeah. And I see Felix getting awkward on like the phone. I was like, yeah, man, yeah. I was getting all kind of like that because it was true. It dawned on me all at the same time. I was like, wow, this guy I'm speaking to has really influenced because I saw them do it. Because sometimes it just takes somebody just doing it for you to think, even the Terror Dome thing, I'm sure I saw the movie, I don't remember, but I knew he'd been in a movie. Like, what? Who does that from Tottenham? It's crazy.
Right.
What? Yeah. Anyway, I made Felix feel awkward for 30 seconds while I was sniffing and kept saying, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That's beautiful. I love
Yeah.
that. You said that you hinted that maybe like Last Will and Testament wasn't his last release. Like maybe not, maybe it was like as Black Radical, but
Yeah.
is there what I haven't been able to find other stuff that he's done.
Maybe it's his last release. I don't know. I get a feeling that Felix has put out stuff since. I don't I don't speak of it. I think we'll treat it as this is his last release.
Cool.
But I don't know if Felix may have put out stuff since. I'm not sure.
Nice. Cool.
Yeah.
Amazing. Do you yeah, what's just I've asked most of my questions that
Yeah.
are my burning questions. Hearing the backstory, your relationship with Felix and how that album came about is super illuminating. I've been listening to that album for like since before I first wrote to you. So and I've been like listening and listening and listening, and it helps contextualize it so much. And I'm 10 out of 10 going to go listen to some Rare Groove.
Yeah, Rare Groove. Yeah, I've got a book coming out. I've got the manuscript. I've just got to get it pressed and put it out. I'll definitely send you a copy.
Amazing. I would love to see it.
Yeah.
What's your do you have a next music project coming up?
Um, yeah, we're gonna release some more Hi-Fi Recluse. We have a Hi-Fi Recluse project coming out. We got a bunch of stuff. There's this Brazilian collective called Now Now, which is like I would explain it as like a Wu-Tang for Brazil. And they weren't as big as a Wu-Tang, but in terms of the concept, what they were doing, they were like a collective. And they put up this psychedelic, hazy kind of hip hop. And we reissued a collection of theirs, but put it out on tape, cassette tape, kind of filled up the waters.
Yeah.
We're gonna put that out on vinyl soon, hopefully. Well, hi-fi stuff. We have a MC called Darling Jones, which is a hip hop project that we're going to be putting out too. Darling Jones like an interesting character. I'd compare him. Do you know like the Lord Quas Madlib stuff?
I don't think I do.
Quasimodo is like an alter ego for like Madlib.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it's kind of in that vein, alternative rap, mischievous character. So we've got the Hi-Fi, we've got the Darling Jones, we got the Now Now How, and there's something else coming out. Yeah, we have like a what is it? Like a post-punk psychedelic record by a group called Cool de La. We're going to be putting that out too. So there's a lot of stuff lined up. It's just a pipeline thing, especially when you're dealing with physical too. Just like so, there's a number of things that are happening and moving and shaking. You know, yeah.
I love it. Man, thank
So
you.
how did you come across Black Radical?
I well, so I
Through
mean,
the film.
I came across him because of this film.
Okay.
I watched the movie a handful of times, and then when we interviewed the director, she was like, "Yeah, the male lead in it is this like uh this guy from this London rapper." And she was like, "I totally lost track of him." She was like, "I have no idea what he's up to or where he's at." And like the first thing that pops up when you like, or like kind of the first music that pops up when you look up Felix Joseph is your reissue.
Humbly.
Yeah, no, crushing it. Well, and it's so interesting. I mean, I wonder like what it makes me think about, like what would I be able to find, or like what would, what, how would I be able to find him if that re-release wasn't available? You know what I mean?
Right, right, yeah, yeah,
Like he's sure, yeah, he comes up as an artist. Like it's like he's there, and it's like, oh yeah, he was in this movie, but
yeah.
it's not like
Yeah, if you Google
wasn't
things,
releasing music on digital at the
it's
time.
like the Undiluted Truth album comes
Yeah,
up a lot.
that one.
Undiluted Truth.
Yeah,
Prior to our record, yeah, because for me, it's weird because for me, Felix is like around because he's like a friend of mine, right?
right.
But for the world in general, it's like where did he go?
Yeah,
Um,
well, and that's also partly why why I thought it'd be interesting to talk to you, because I feel like when I listened to that album, it felt like he orchestrated an end to his public presence,
mm,
like really strategically. And
yes,
I don't want to disrespect that by like my story. Like I'm not interested in being like, I don't want to tell the world where Felix Joseph has been for the last 25 years. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like
yeah.
that's not, I'm not interested in that.
All right, yeah, 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 yeah. Okay, yeah. Phoenix is by no means a like recluse. I mean, he's just moved on to other things.
Yeah,
You
sure.
know, he just moved on to other things. But you know that music itch, that creative itch, just never leaves, right? So who
Yeah.
who knows what the future holds for Phoenix?
Yeah. But there's so much. I mean, it's really, I have a lot of respect for laying out a critique of the music industry and saying you're quitting it and then actually quitting it, compared to name any artist. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? How many
yeah.
people have said things like that?
Yeah, yeah, exactly, exactly. And then they come back, you know. But yeah,
Yeah.
Felix is good.